So when I create an ambient track, it's not only about the soundscapes and drones, you know. I love to have rhythmic elements in my ambient music as well. And I know that's kind of controversial. Some people think in ambient music that's totally free, there is no rhythm at all, no pulse. And while that's not wrong, there's also another side where you can, of course, add a pulse and a rhythm to an ambient track to make it, in my opinion, sounding even more ambient. Especially when you're working with polyrhythmic elements. You know, polyrhythm adds like some overlapping layers to the music, and that's very interesting because it gives you another way to get rid of space and time. And that's what I want to show you here in this video. So stay open-minded and stick around if you think that's interesting. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I want to make such experiments and creative stuff a lot on this channel, which is, by the way, the ground noise, and everything else you want to know is in the show notes as always. So without further ado, I'm here in my DAW and want to quickly explain what polyrhythm actually means. In this case, I will create something like an ambient house track in 4/4, so nothing special so far, but then we will create a rhythmic pattern like with the Pluck sound in Vital that plays a 5/4 pattern. And I think you can already imagine that this will sound quite interesting. So before we start, I will give you another example with the piano, a very common example for polyrhythmic stuff. So I have the quarter note here, and I play an eighth note pattern with 4 notes. Very, very common, you know, nothing special. But when I play this 4-note pattern, it's a 3-note pattern. I leave the last note, the 4th notes out. I can play it forever. Or I make it so that it fits into like a 2-bar loop. Or another very common thing you've heard 1,000 times is this rhythm. It's basically the same 3-note pattern over 4, but I only play the accents. Or slowly. And I think now you're getting the idea where this video is going. The only difference is that we're not playing with a 3-note pattern over 4, but with a 5-note pattern over 4. So let me just start with creating the drum groove. I go for a very simple drum groove, just a 4 on the floor pattern with the kick drum, on the quarter notes, something like this. And I will create a Pluck sound here in Vital on the fly, you know, and with this Pluck sound we play a 5/4 pattern over a 4/4 beat. So what am I doing here? Let's go for basic shapes and a simple sine curve, and I create an envelope that's kind of Pluck-like, something like this, or deeper. Nice, nice, nice. A little bit beefier, please, and shorter. Okay, and when we add a filter to this, the filter doesn't do much because it's a sine curve, and a sine curve don't have many overtones, you know. So let's add some overtones, maybe with a noise. Maybe we can go for this one here. How does it sound? Oh, interesting, interesting. Send it also through the filter here. Okay, now open the filter with another envelope. The cut off. Okay. Cool. This is enough for now. We will come back later. Now I write my 5/4 pattern into the editor. So I have to create a 5/4 part here. And this time all the maestros out there already spotted that I'm playing in E minor. Let's go for E minor, 8th notes, very simple chords. And B minor for the accents on the 4 and 5 in the bar. And I copy both parts a couple of times so that we can create this overlapping effect. And it's very interesting that you can already see that our 4/4 part needs to play 5 times before it meets the 5/4 part that has to play 4 times. It's very interesting, and you can test it with a 7/4 over 5/4 or whatever if you can recreate this effect. But let's not dive into that, just let's listen to the track here. But we already run into a problem because so far it totally sounds like a 5/4, okay? Because it's only the pattern that's clearly a 5/4, and there is no sign that this track is actually a 4/4 because the bass drum here is just playing quarter notes, so it sounds absolutely like a 5/4. So we need to change that, but before I do that, I will create another track, a bass track. Very quickly, I like to use the pianos and E-piano sound for stuff like that. Very easy bass notes. Oh, this is good. This is my E. Bum, bum. And then the B. And now I will play it a couple of times and also change the sound. I'll change the cut off and so on. Nice, but now let's change the drum part so that it actually sounds like a 4/4 drum part. I just opened the pattern here and I need to change it back here so it's not so confusing. And I just add another, like a hop note at the end, last 16th. And now it's a 4/4 loop. Of course, we can do a little bit more. Maybe we add a snare on the 2 and 4. What about that? And for that, I love to use the lanes in Cubase. I know lanes weren't made for that, but I love to work on drum parts like this. Where are my snares? Maybe I go with this one here. 2 and 4. And I will also tweak the sound a little bit with the envelope shaper and also a tiny little bit of reverb. I just go with the presets now, you know, and I'll just reduce the mix value to something like this. Okay, and I love working like this, you know, like very quickly going with the first impression, with the first idea. I'm really not into all that so-called perfectionism. If you ask me, another controversial topic, I think, but all this perfectionism and perfect workflow and this and that is kind of a mental illness. But I don't blame anybody, okay? This is just my channel here, and of course I talk mainly about my own ideas on this channel, and you are absolutely allowed to go your own way and have your own ideas, that's for sure. So my Sunday preach is over, so let's listen to the track, and first of all let's copy the 4/4 so that we can listen to the whole thing. and also the bass part needs to be copied. And now let's go. And yes, you're totally right. If you're my age or older, this is the happiness is a warm gun effect. That's how I call it. It's of course the Beatles. Ringo played 4/4, continued playing 4/4, and the music changed into 5/4, I guess. I don't know for sure what it was. And so we have that effect that the snare seems to play off time on the 1 and 3, and then it went back into the correct position. And that sounds incredible. I always wondered when I was young how he was doing that. How is this working? And of course, when it comes to the Beatles and Ringo, there are always some negative persons out there who try to frame it like, oh, Ringo is a terrible drummer, he cannot play, he just can play straight. He has not the ability to play in odd meters. He's weak. You are weak, okay? If you think that Ringo is a bad drummer, I cannot help you. You're completely out of your mind. Honestly. But what is wrong with me today? What is wrong with me today? I'm just doing controversial stuff, you know, anti-perfectionism and polyrhythmic stuff in ambient music. And now Ringo. Okay, calm down, everybody, and let's go back to the project here. So far, it's not really funky and ambient sounding. I must confess. Okay, let's make a copy of this first vital part because I want to keep it. And now I do this. I mark all the parts, or just one part is a better way to do that. And I change my selecting tool here to time stretch, and I make it exactly half as long as it was. So now the part plays double speed, not just in 8th notes. Now we have 16th notes going on, and I will quickly copy this part all over and do the same trick with our bass part. And play it again. Cool, but what if we add some delay to our preset in Vital? Very simple stuff, very easily done. Let's go with the stereo delay, 8th notes. Yes, but do you remember how I said this is an element? It's just an element of our ambient track. So far, it's still not really an ambient track, I would say. It's just an element that we've created first. So let's turn this into an ambient track. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is with a big fat drone. And we've created one on this channel here a while ago, also in Vital. And I never used it so far in a project. And this will also show you a way how you can turn your drones into like a real track and also combine it with more stuff, just like we do here in this video. Before I continue, of course, please don't forget to do all the nice things, okay? Thank you very much. Okay, I've loaded my drone. Let's call it drone, Vital drone, ambient drone, whatever. And I create a part. Something like this. So and now I create one note for our drone, a deep E, of course. It's in E minor. Cool. And also let's try to come up with an arrangement for our track. So I will start with the drone. Then I think it's a good idea to bring in the drums maybe, but not the snare. You see, I can just mute the snare parts here very easily because I'm working with the lanes. Now I will bring maybe a little later something like this. We don't need this. and the drums should continue playing. And the drone stops here, but it has a very long tail. Maybe that's good to fill this room and add a little bit dynamic to our track. And do you see what I mean? I just had the impression that the tail was a bit too short, so I lengthened the part, and maybe I bring the drone back here, something like this. And also the bass starts here. Okay. So, and I lengthen the whole thing here because, so that it gets kind of repetitive, which is also a nice element for like ambient music. And the drone stops again here. Let's make it a little bit longer. It's really like trial and error, and like Bob Ross going for the happy accidents. It's really the same process, I think. Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing here. This hasn't much to do with the classical way of composing, but it's a very enjoyable process, and that's the reason I show you how I do that. And I think I want to go to another chord at this spot. And maybe we can also stop with the bass drum one step after another, okay? I go for a simple A minor chord. And also with the bass. And the drone is coming back as well, but it also has to play on an A. Very interesting. And it's too long. And then we have the first part. I don't know if this works when we bring in this first part, the slow Pluck sound, And maybe you just put a reverb on it, crank it up, big size, big time, 10 seconds or something. Yeah, there's still some rearranging going on here to make it really fit into that weird form. And what are we doing with the snare? We don't have the snare so far. Maybe after the first A part where everything changed into A minor. Like here, or maybe here. We have plenty of time. We can really spread everything out. And I need to remove the muting. Okay, back to the beginning. Now listen to the whole track, and I try to make changes like on the fly if I think I have a good idea. So, okay, let's start. Enjoy. Two things, basically. First, the kick drum hole here was a bit weird, too confusing, too soon, I think. I think it's better when we continue playing, and maybe we leave the last bar out before it goes into this first track again with the E minor track. And another thing was the slow pluck doesn't really come out, because not only because it's very silent, but the sound is pretty much like the same as a fast pluck. So maybe we could try to do something with the panning. So the slow pluck, for example, is on the left channel and the fast pluck is on the right channel. I don't know if that's a good idea in this case. Just let's try it with the auto panning plug-in. Auto interchanges to like quarter note and give it a really big width and a square like a pulse. Okay, let's try it just. Oh yeah. I mean, basically it's just there to add some noise in the background. Another drone stuff with all the reverb. And also the white noise or whatever we used in the preset comes out really nicely. What about that? I changed the pitch to +7, so that's a fifth over the tone. But we have to recognize that this will change the whole harmonics of the track. It's in E minor and B minor, and now we have something weird going on. Maybe it works, maybe not. And I also added some voices here to that sound. I don't know. Just let's try again. And the snare is too late, it makes no sense, I think. So what do you think? Honestly, leave a comment down there. I think it's not bad. It's a beginning. It's another beginning for a nice track. And also please remember that we only use very easy things, easy sounds, very easy. And we done it very quickly to really create an enjoyable process, I think. And the biggest thing, of course, was the polyrhythmic pattern here that we've created, the 5/4/4/4. It's a bit spicy, of course, we don't hear that all too often, but it's, like I said in the beginning, another great way to play around with space and time, and that's what we want to do in ambient music, right? So if you agree or disagree, just let me know in the comments, let's discuss, and of course, let's meet again in one of the other videos here on the channel. I thank you very much for watching. My name is Marcus, and I hope to see you soon in the next one.